Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogboat333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, Kalterkrieg, as New England. Now, last video, we had some strikes break out in Philadelphia, so we're sending in the National Guard. I'm hoping nothing bad is going to happen from it. I guess we never know, but we'll wait and see. Got excavation figured out. Get improved dockyards going. The Algiers conference. So that's their colonial / decolonial stuff. Okay, interesting. Because they don't have cores on any of this anymore. Alright, so we can start rebuilding some of these areas. Let's start rebuilding the city of brotherly love. Philadelphia saw some of the harshest urban warfare during its campaign against the CSA, and its inhabitants are living in destitution. Rebuilding the city of brotherly love will take time, but removing the debris is a start. Massachusetts Liberal Democrats. Doing quite well, surprisingly well even. Improved factories. Let's go ahead and get something or other. Let's get flamethrower. We get negative relations with other countries for researching flamethrowers. You know, that's fair enough. I'm doing it anyway, though. With Europe devastated by an almost decades-long war, the European powers and the Entente are now in a very good position to stand up to Germany if the situation were to require it. British and French officials know that they are not ready for war, and their economies are not ready to compete with Germany either. Canada's Montgomery Plan has already begun to fund European reconstruction efforts, but a greater level of cooperation is going to be needed if the UK and France are going to be able to compete economically and militarily with Germany. Proponents of the Accord have voices in almost every Entente nation now. With much more benefits of a stronger alliance easily visible, it appears as if formation of the Accord in the near future is inevitable. Where shall we meet? Go ahead and finish the carrier order. There we go. A bit of a... And then we'll put the rest into convoys. There we go. Got an extra military factory. Where do we want to put it? We could use more rifles. Let's get those rifles going. Our industry is back to kicking away. Oh, Queen Wilhelmina abdicating. Interesting. Lib Dem in New York. I thought this guy was progressive. I might be wrong. He has the pink background, so it looks like he should be progressive. I don't know. He might be both. We do over. Oh, we already have done that. There we go. Let's start regrowing the Big Apple now. The Big Apple in New York City has not seen such destruction in our streets since the Revolutionary War. If we are to unlock the economic potential of the city, rebuilding it from the ground up needs to be our top priority. It's all coming together. The Vancouver Summit will be held in the eponymous Canadian city. It is to be a gathering of American nations with strong ties to Canada. As we look to form the North American Trade Organization, or NATO, we should look to advance our own interests over those of the two other American successors. Economic prosperity and security is all very good, but we much prefer it to not be at our expense. Still, optimism is in the air as we approach the date of the summit. NATO has the potential to bring jobs to our people and money to our economy. Let's head up north. Interesting indeed. American successors joined the anti-Union State Pact. Yep, NATO. On the first day of conference, all three American successor states made it clear what the primary objective in Vancouver was, a renewal of economic health, but especially to the detriment of the foreboding, powerful Union state. The initial deal proposed was a complete severance of any economic ties, but this was later watered down somewhat to a more flexible proposal. Any trade deal offered to the Union State by Canada must first be offered to each of the successors. If multiple successors accepted, a bidding war would begin. Not a single Canadian dollar can pass the board without us declining it first. Obviously, no successor would ever want to negotiate with government in New Orleans, so we need to have a clause of that eventuality. An excellent measure. Go. Let's get working on this Lafayette. Why not? Let's get recon companies going. Let's get the return of Wall Street going. Wall Street once ran the economic life in New York City. It is now just a pile of rubble and ruin. Our economists are urging us to invest in Wall Street once more and rebuild the economic center of New York City. I want to know what the fuck's going on in West Virginia. Like the entire state just one big battle Blair Mountain type shit? I don't know. That's what I'm wondering. In order for NATO... Okay, so we got the Joint Projects Committee. In order for NATO to accomplish greater goals of construction within its territory, such as the recently planned St. Lawrence Seaway to facilitate the passage of ships, Canada suggests a Joint Projects Committee to be established with 2 delegates from each nation. It can approve projects suggested by any country within NATO and gives support for their completion, whether it's money, construction materials, or some other form of support. They'll make all the world impressed with NATO's achievements, provided, of course, that said achievements are in the best interest of every member. As long as we benefit from the projects. Ooh, goal of a free trade zone. As a country with a large economy engaging in a great deal of trade, it's hardly surprising that the Pacific states would want to create a free trade zone among NATO members, unless it's a big step to take with an idea that nothing but a dream of a few parliamentarians a short while ago. In light of that fact, it's been decided that this plan should be tabled until all countries feel ready to calibrate their economies to this new suggestion. It has, however, been set forth as a goal of NATO to create that at some point, perhaps once all other concerns have been dealt with and the world is stabilized to Ottawa's liking. This would be a big step forward. Oh, we got the first dispute coming up. Surprisingly, the summit's first direct conflict was not among the successor states, rather it was the Commonwealth of New England and Canada who clashed. While not strictly a trade issue, the problem with competing fishing interests has made relations cool. Both countries send their fishing boats to shoals off the coast of the Maritimes of New England, justifying this with their greater population, which must be fed. Canadian diplomats have retorted that surely a country with such resources can find alternative methods. Some possible solutions have been proposed, ensuring the purely domestic consumption of New England caught fish, extending Canadian sovereign waters, or creating a new concept, an exclusive economic zone. In the first drafts held by only Canada, but later established as a potentially global concept in which nations within a certain distance of an area are able to hold their rights against any others without dominion there. This idea, though formalizing what has been part of many other countries' policies, is too radical to succeed right now in a world of less than harmonious national feeling. This issue has ultimately been tabled, and canned, as one newspaper quipped, until there can be global agreement on the issue. Well, let's pickle that. As the conference is drawing to a close, Canada has proposed what seems to be her flagship objective of the summit, joint foreign policy initiatives, to be carried out without reservation by all members. While support for this is certainly widespread, the countries agree that an impartial special council of NATO objectives is to be established. This will oversee the authorization and planning for any specific policies that will be taken. An important point is that a goal pursued by one country does not necessarily become a NATO objective. All countries need to agree in order for it to be pursued. Countries hostile to NATO members, while showing no signs of changing their policies, have begun to reconsider the situation with this new alliance. This isn't the accord, but it's still worth consideration. Ooh. Won't get reimbursing. There we go. We got the PSA heading our way. Interesting. So that shifted the balance a little bit, it looks like. Rush Holtz. Uh-oh. I think this is the gamer one. President Holt. Yep. Uphold sacred. Codify. Oh no. Damn it. Oh, look at that. At last, with all deals made and goals established, regulations written, and plans finalized, the Vancouver Summit is at an end. NATO has been established and ratified by all members. The North American Trade Organization can now begin to create greater prosperity throughout the attending countries. With great pomp, Princess Elizabeth has closed out the conference, concluding with a speech that many attending greatly appreciating, pledging her whole life to the service of our great imperial family. It was felt to be a resonant statement at a time when the great imperial family faced her global struggles. She'll make an excellent queen one day. Delegates from the Entente have arrived in Ottawa to begin discussing the details of the accord. They arrived to a formal dinner before heading out to their hotels to prepare for the discussions the next day. Many things are on the table for discussion, and a lot of issues have to be ironed out before unanimous consensus can be reached. However, there's no doubt that discussions will end in the creation of the accord, a new alliance to compete against Germany and pull together the strength of the world to oppose the Kaiser's hegemony. Let's get things started. What have they done? They've elected segregationist guy. The AUS gets 3 different guys, progressive guy, a segregationist guy, and just a normal longest guy who gets to choose between either, it looks like. After months of negotiations, the representatives of North American nations met in Vancouver to sign the historic trade and diplomatic agreement. Among the signatories are Canada, New England, and the PSA. Setting in stone the conflict which will set the tone for next decade between NATO signatories and the American Union state. This agreement will begin stronger economic begin to create stronger economic ties on the North American continent and the Caribbean, with one glaring exception. It's not stated outright in the document. It's clear that this treaty was signed to isolate the American Union state, which it essentially has. With its only trading partner far off than the Reichspakt, the American Union state will have an even tougher time rebuilding its already stagnant economy. Sure get the longest angry. First to be discussed is the overall situation in the former U.S. Since outright war and hostilities ended years ago. I wanted to check. We're still doing the police. Okay. The former countries had been divided into four governments: the Pacific States, the American Union State, the Great Lakes Government, and New England. The Great Lakes Government remains occupied by Canadian forces, and New England is a major leader of our alliance. This leaves the Pacific States and the AUS outside of the future accord. However, the Pacific States are cordial to our alliance, although it is unlikely that they'll join the accord in the future. This leaves the main threat in the Americas as the AUS, a one-party democracy that is outwardly friendly to Germany. While efforts have been made to isolate this regime, it seems as if the accord will have to live with this threat in the near future. Still, there are worries that a third civil war could break out if tensions reach a breaking point, and if they do, it could be necessary for the Accord to use its military power to assist fellow members in that event. After discussion concluded, it appears as if the Accord has confirmed amongst itself the American Union state will be contained, and our friends in the Americas will be protected no matter the cost. Hopefully we'll be ready if that time comes. Do investment in the Great Lakes government, you say? Alright, let's check this out. The North American Trade Organization. Part of NATO's mission is to invest in the American nations that are not as rich as those in the North. As such, the proposal of Great Lakes government receive additional economic aid. Great Lakes government economic aid is far below what it ought to be, and that the others should do what they can to change that. All should prosper together. I'll vote yes. Oh. 3 yeses. Per the Constitution, the Senate has the authority to devise and consent on all foreign treaties. After Secretary of State John Foster Dulles returned from the Vancouver Summit, having signed the NATO agreement, President Baldwin immediately began lobbying senators to support the treaty. Most Republicans are on board, citing the increased freedom of movement between NATO members and the pledge to lower tariffs. Some Democrats have voiced opposition, feared that the treaty will cede authority to Canada. Scarred from the occupation of 1937, the Canadian takeover of the New England military-industrial complex in the 1940s, many conservative Democrats are Canada skeptics, afraid that Canada will begin to reassert authority over New England. President Baldwin has assured Democrats that this will not happen, and the Executive Council of Economic Advisors put out a statement saying that the addition of the Mid-Atlantic states, New England's economy will far outgrow Canada's over the next decade. Baldwin has used this statement as a way to draw some Democrats over to those in favor by arguing that this will actually enable New England to assert authority over Canada, though the administration has denied this motivation publicly. The liberal wing of the Democratic Party, those from New York City and Massachusetts, have expressed support, believing that democracies need to band together against the longest in the South. Despite these conflicts, the treaty will likely skate to an easy ratification on the back of a Republican Senate majority. Let them advise and consent. We got 12 out of 16. So, let's go ahead and ratify it. There we go. With an overwhelming majority, the NATO agreement has passed the Senate and will now come into effect once the other member nations ratify. The Republican Senate majority was joined by a large contingent of Democrats, which ensured passage. Senate Majority Leader Irving Ives appeared with President Baldwin on Beacon Hill and held a triumphant press conference. Minority Leader Philbin voted for the measure but did not make a statement, as his party was split on the vote. NATO is an unprecedented step in American history. Never before has an American nation been as close to another as New England will be with Canada. The other members, once it comes into effect, this is truly a historic moment. Oh, look, everyone's voting in favor of helping out the Great Lakes. It's all included in the Great Lakes. Pretty much everything. Minneapolis, St. Paul, Duluth. All of these are occupied states. That's interesting. Okay. At this point, probably for the best we distance ourselves from them. Agreed. For discussion of the threat in the Americas over, it seemed necessary to move on to the amount of military cooperation within the Accord. It's obvious to everyone the Accord is primarily a defensive military alliance. Thus, the delegate its first move to draft articles specifying when a nation should call on the Accord for defense, and how other nations in the Accord should react. A general Accord command structure was also created to help unify the Accord's military in case of another European war. All delegates agree that cooperation is the key to success in the case of another theoretical global war. Finally, all nations agreed on requiring 2% minimum of a nation's GDP to be put towards defense. However, there is no punishment for a country in the Accord that does not follow this rule. Still, there is little doubt that all nations in the Accord will take this seriously. The militaries of the Accord stand united. Okay, status of colonies. After military requirements were drafted, a few of the delegates brought up the issue of colonial holdings, and if they should be under the defense of the entire Accord. This began a great deal of conflict between the New England delegates and the French delegates, and started to derail the discussions at large. A solution came from the Canadian delegation, which drafted an article that was ambiguous and vague, defining the colonies as overseas holdings, not truly specifying if they were to be defended or not. Well, it seems to just be pushing the issue down the road. Both parties have at least stopped arguing with each other, although grumblings could still be heard. At least we reach some sort of consensus. With the documents having nearly been finalized, regional powers such as Australasia and Portugal have brought their own complaints, mainly as a representation in the Accord. They want more power in this decision-making alliance, like where the Accord puts its resources and how the Accord may grow in the future. At a point, it seems like many delegates would not sign the documents unless a system of representation was added, and the Canadians folded, drafting an unprecedented system for a military alliance, a formal voting system. This voting system will allow for delegates from every Accord nation, small or large, to vote on whatever issues are brought up. However, it's obvious that nations such as Canada and New England will still have considerably more power within the system. However, this compromise, it seemingly leaves every delegate happy. This voting system goes to show how the Accord is a new kind of alliance, a democracy alliance of democracies, under the common goal of liberty for all. Democracy has been brought back to the world stage. Well, we'll have to wait until next time to see how democracy incorporates itself onto the world stage. I'm going to leave it there, gang. But thank you guys for watching. Like this video if you liked, dislike if you didn't, leave me comments, feedback down in the comment section below. I read all comments again, and I appreciate any of you went out for me. Check out my various links down in the description box below. And hit the sub button notification bell for uploads weekdays, as well as occasionally Saturdays. That's going to be it for now, my friends. I thank you all for watching. My name has been Mr. Dogwood333. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.